Are you guys ready for our third talk of 2024? Yeah? You still got that energy? Okay. I hope Carl's got that energy. Looks like he does. All right. Who wants to learn 3 fun things about Carl? Hell yeah, you do. All right, Carl appeared in a cereal commercial as a kid. Were you Toucan Sam or the Tiger? Was it? Okay, I don't know. I thought maybe there was a joke there. Carl went viral for selling bottled air. It's everywhere. It's all around us, Carl. Finally, Carl hiked, I'm not going to mispronounce this, Annapurna in Nepal and got internet withdrawals. I could see that. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage our final speaker, Carl Casis.
Hey everyone. Thanks. I'm Carl. I'm a recruiter at Casis Careers, a recruitment firm for startups, and I help people find jobs. But before I help people find jobs, I myself needed to find a job, and that's what this talk is about today. It's my career journey. It's doing pretty well. It made about 700,000 Canadian dollars over the past few years. But before that, this is how much money I had in my bank account. Notice the minus there, by the way. This didn't include student loans at all, and I was about 22 at the time. How did I get here? Well, before all that, do you know how much $68,000 can get you? A nice car, probably. But it could also get you 2 years' worth of rent in Toronto for a 1-bedroom apartment. Here's some I found on Facebook Marketplace the other day. How did I get here, though? How did I get to $68,000 of debt? Fuck. 2008 is where I got to take you back to. What was happening then? The iPhone 3G was just released, which is crazy. Obama had just been elected president, and we were going through a recession, which was pretty nuts. What was I doing? I had just graduated. Look how goofy I look there. I still had hair. I looked so smug with a media and cultural studies degree. I didn't know what to do with it, basically, so I wanted to go and work for a newspaper. I couldn't be a journalist because, I don't know, I didn't really want to write anything. I ended up in telesales, selling subscriptions to a maritime newspaper. Riveting stuff, I know. What is a maritime newspaper? Well, it just tracked freight prices, shipping. It was boring as hell. The subject matter was boring as hell. But the actual company itself was pretty fun. At least I thought it was fun. It was pretty much a frat house vibe there. It was a real boys' club. And this sort of place wasn't really conducive for anything wholesome at all. It's exactly what you would imagine, like, I don't know if anyone's seen the movie Boiler Room, but yeah, it was a lot of debauchery. In the daytime, we would go out drinking and make calls from our Blackberries, because no one was into the iPhone then. We all needed physical keyboards. Sometimes in the day, we'd make deals from the casino. So that sounds like a lot of fun until you start to get involved in things like cocaine. And this is not an anti-drug talk by any means. Go out and have fun. But I got so into it, heavily into gambling, heavily into cocaine, and this happened over the course of a year and a half. And this is where the debt sort of spiraled. Everyone thought they were the man, because we were selling subscriptions. Some of us were selling advertising, banner ads, if you remember those. They still pop up once in a while. But yeah, this is what we were doing. Everyone thought they were the man, including me. Everyone thought they were this man. Don't know if anyone's seen Mad Men, but yeah, everyone thought they were Don Draper. It's a TV show about a guy on Madison Avenue living a dual life. But the only commonality we had and I had with Don Draper wasn't the suit. It was that we had alcohol problems and we were living dual lives. That was very real for us. And I say us, there was a couple of people who got swept up in this. The reason that spiraled so much was because like I thought I'd make it up on the next commission check. We were making enough money to put a down payment for a house. I put a down payment for an apartment in London, which seems like a flex, but not at all. Like, that debt spiraled even more. Yeah. So I ended up moving, actually, to another company that I thought was more wholesome, anyway. But just because I left my previous company doesn't mean I left any habits behind. I was still spending out of control. I had bought everything. I had a massive sneaker collection, designer clothes, every console, every video game that I never played because I was never at home. I got so wrecked all the time, I'd end up by the coast in the UK, in Brighton. So I don't know if anyone's from London or been to London, but that's not... If you end up on the last train at Victoria in London at night, and this last train, you could end up by the coast in Brighton, and there's no train back after 12:30, so I was screwed. So that's what kind of shit I was getting into. But even though this company, Intrafish, that I was working for was more wholesome, the people around me were more family friendly. Yeah, I still was using. And I had this opportunity to go to Singapore. I was talking to my manager at the time over Nando's, as you do in the UK, and he said, the team in Asia is failing. Go outside there, go there and fire them and start your own team, which I ended up doing. But before that, like my mum had developed cancer for the second time, so not unlike Amna's story, but she developed it in her spine. So I had asked her if it was okay to go, because I wanted to take care of her. But she just said to me, don't let my sickness stop you from living your life. Like not knowing the fact that my sickness was ruining my life. The only reason I wanted to go to Singapore was one, to pay down my debt by leasing out my apartment, and two, for self-enforced rehab. Like, I don't know if anyone knows anything about Singapore, but if you are caught with drugs there, they lash you, they like whip you, which is insane. And if you're really having a fun time, they'll kill you, they hang you. So it's a pretty brutal place. So for me, it was like a place to have self-enforced rehab. Like I needed to get my shit together, because mentally I wasn't doing okay, physically I wasn't doing okay, financially I was like broken. And you could probably hear from my voice, like reliving this is still kind of traumatic for me. But I had a chance to like travel Asia and sort of just sit on beaches and sort of meditate. It's one of those find yourself stories when you leave university, but this was happening in my mid-20s. But yeah, I wanted to come back home because I'd paid off enough of my debt to like, okay, this is more manageable now. It's not 68K. And yeah, so I wanted to come back home to take care of my mom. And the editors of this company wanted to start their own thing. They'd actually learned to develop and code, so they wanted to build this themselves. So I saw this as a vehicle to go back home. I didn't ask for a salary though, which was insane. I asked for equity in the hopes that I would make this more profitable enough to sell. So we built Undercurrent News, another riveting business idea, just covering seafood. But there's only 4 of us there. There were 3 journalists and me as a sales and marketing person, so I learned a lot about sales and marketing. But I was working 18-hour days. I was looking after my mum, but I was so invested in like making this worth something that even though I was like physically present, I wasn't like mentally present. And that's what really broke me. Like there's a lot of time and effort that went into building Undercurrent News, the fact that, you know, I'd be making sales calls to Japan at like 3 a.m. So my sleep pattern was off. I never really got to see my mom. Even though like I lived in the same house as her, I took her to her appointments, but yeah, I just was kind of avoiding it mentally. And in 2015, she passed away. And this is a picture 2 days before she actually passed away, still smiling. And on the right is me 5 days before, still hadn't fully cleaned up. Yeah, so that's what the biggest fuck up was for me. I mean, you could argue, is the money the biggest fuck up? Sure. Is the substance abuse that led to the debt a fuck up? Absolutely. But the biggest fuck up for me was that I had got myself into such a mess that the consequences of my actions caused me to waste a lot of time. And waste a lot of time like spending with my family, spending with my mom, just overall, just wasting a hell of a lot of time by doing this because of my actions. But after that, I quit Undercurrent News to kind of just take a break. And I decided to move to Canada. That's a different fuck-up story, but... I'd actually applied for a company called Shopify, and they rejected me twice, which is fucking rude. Sorry, I'm pressing it too much. But yeah, so I decided to build a store selling bottled air, one of the fun facts. Because a big talk at the time in London was the fact there was a lot of air pollution, but at the same time there was a lot of gentrification. Like we got a Whole Foods in Brixton, which is, I don't know what that's equivalent to here, I don't want to upset anyone. But that's what happens. And it went viral, like it got picked up on international news, national news. Mexican radio called me to do an interview. It was a lot. But because I had amassed a network in media, a lot of journalists knew me, I pitched it to a lot of these folks and it went viral. And then Shopify called me and they were like, come in and interview. And I was like, cool. And I only feel they interviewed me because I'd be a sort of a PR shitstorm for them if they didn't interview me. But yeah, that's what happens. And I flew in and I ended up at Shopify. Woohoo. That was a fun time. I started in the support team and then started to hire for the support team and then went on to hire for the marketing and development teams. But by this time, I'd realized this is the only time I had taken control of my life. All the other times, all the other jobs, with those riveting businesses that I mentioned, I was a passenger in my own life. And this was the first time I felt like I had taken control. Because I wanted to work for a big tech company. And I wanted to come to Canada. Again, I'll get to that one day. But yeah, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, the biggest sort of takeaway from this is that not to waste any of my time. I know this is a really morbid fact here. But I guess when you're confronted with your mortality, you start to realize how valuable time is. And if there was any sort of big takeaway from any of this, is to really just value your time because it's the currency that's worth more than anything that you should spend in the best places, or better still, invest your time in places. So, yeah, that's my fuck up.
There we go.
I breezed through that.
Carl, thank you. That was awesome.
Cool.
We have time for a couple questions.